Running 38,000 acres across Gainesville, Georgia, lives one of the creepiest urban legends in the history of Georgia. Lake Lanier was built in 1957. It was named after Sidney Lanier. Sidney Lanier, he wrote a poem back then called Song of the Chattahoochee, based off the Chattahoochee River. Lake Lanier was a town at first. Prior to 1957, there were towns in the area, stretching across those 38,000 feet. There were towns in the area, and the Army Corps of Engineers came in and they relocated everybody that was in the town, but they didn't get all of the graves. They didn't relocate most of the graves due to not having permission from the people that they were relocating. Because of this relocation and the building of the lake over the cities, segregation remained in the area until 1987. The idea behind flooding the cities rather than demolishing them and relocating the entire area to another area, it was referred to as ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing, this is referring to the violent removal of African American people from their homes in Forsyth County. During this time, people within the community, they felt as though their votes were threatened by living in this Black community, this predominantly Black community. Forsyth County back in 1912 was home to 1,100 Black people. 58 of these Black people owned land. This caused a lot of commotion to go on. Some men, they called themselves night watchers. They would ride through horseback through the city, and they'd throw explosive into the windows of people who were sleeping. And like, they burned down homes, they burned down buildings, they burned down a lot of buildings and structures within the city, and this forced a lot of Black people to leave the area. And with them leaving the area so abruptly, there were grave sites that were still underneath. Now, with the Black families gone out of the area, the white families can do what they want. They took all of the land that was left behind and they rationed it up. And instead of demolishing the town of Oscarville like they said they were going to do in 1946, instead it took them all the way up until 1954 or 55 to fill the lake. It took them, over the course of the next 5 years, they began to fill the lake up to the level that it is now. In 2007, the lake began to recede and a motor speedway was revealed, fully intact, in Lake Lanier. This began to raise questions and concerns about whether or not the town of Oscarville is truly at the bottom of Lake Lanier, or is this just a legend? This traumatic history began to make people think that the lake was cursed. Over the course of the years after it was built, there was over 500 boating accidents. In 2017 and in 2011, there were 17 deaths. And between the years 1999 and 2018, there was 145 drownings. Sounds cursed to me. Also, people complain of feeling arms and legs when they're swimming in the lake, and then they'll go to look around and look down and they don't see anybody or an arm or leg. They don't see anything. While on the subject of ghosts and hauntings in the area, I'd like to also inform you about another legend called the Lady of the Lake. This legend is also centered around Lake Lanier. Two women, Dahlia Mae Parker and Parker Young, disappeared off of the bridge going across Lake Lanier in 1958. In 1959, one body was recovered and forensics found it to belong to Parker Young. Dahlia Mae Parker's body was never recovered. Her body was one of 28 bodies that were never recovered that got lost in that lake. Some people blame this phenomenon on the fact that they never removed the graves from the original city that's underneath Lake Lanier, and they think that the spirits are grabbing these people and taking them to the bottom of the lake. Some people have said to see Parker Young's spirit wandering around close to the bridge, and some say that she snatches people and drags them to the bottom of the lake.